if I could have you just give me a little test 1, 2, 3.
Test 1, 2, 3.
All right. To start off, I'm just going to have you give your name, position, school, how many years you've been at the school.
Okay.
I guess the order for that would be name, athletic director at this school, been doing it for this many years, and then we'll pause for just a moment, and then I'll get into
Next
the
question.
first
Okay.
Whenever you're ready.
All right. T.D. O'Hara, District Director of Athletics for Norman Public Schools. I've been there for a total of 9 years, serving as the last 5 years as the District Athletic Director.
Great. And the first question was about booster clubs.
So yes, booster clubs play an important role in all of our athletic programs. You know, they are a common bond on a lot of things, and I feel like their role, I see that role increasing as we move forward, you know, especially with the monies being tight across the state and the individual districts. So therefore, their responsibility becomes more and more. You know, in the past, I think a lot of their roles have centered around more of luxury items, you know, the extras that make being a part of an athletic program special. You know, but as we move forward, there's going to be a lot more things that could be asked of them, and that's where our role becomes very important in regards to having a good relationship and making sure that they understand, you know, the importance and how all that will work, and we're all on the same page where it's a win-win for everybody.
Right. Yeah, that's great. Could you speak to your booster club situation a lot and how it works at your school?
Yes, so we have what we call the Norman Athletic Association, which is the umbrella organization that oversees and manages all of the individual booster clubs themselves, along with you know, a co-op, so to speak, with Norman Public Schools in regards to monitoring all that. And then what we do basically is we have a system set up where we meet monthly, and all the individual booster clubs come together. You know, at that point in time, we discuss fundraising, different fundraising opportunities moving forward into the future. And then things that you know, they see from me that I feel like might be a need for them to step in and assist if possible. But I really, you know, again, we have a great board of directors that's on that, and, you know, and they're able to identify needs they feel like is important, and then bring those to me, and then both of us working together, we're able to accomplish things and to make that experience a better overall experience for the student athlete.
Great. And it sounds like you have a very structured system
Yes.
that does a lot more than fundraising.
Yes.
Would you say that your booster club is unique in a way that it does many facets outside of fundraising?
Yes, I would say that's accurate. We have individual clubs for each sport at the high school level. At the middle school, it's more of a universal one booster club with individual sports, you know, putting in their request. You know, they also assist and they get monies off of, you know, like our concession stands. And so by them having some extra funds available helps with some needs that maybe we couldn't cover a particular year or not. And so, you know, but again, I think it all comes back to that relationship and having a good positive correlation between the school district and the booster club that makes that a successful entity.
And how does that work with, you said you had a board of directors that runs this whole thing. Does that in any way, have you seen it pull away from your coaches being involved with those booster clubs?
No, you know, I think there's such a fine line, and it's something that I always try to really stress with our booster clubs, and the fact that obviously I feel like coaches should be present at all of their meetings because they're the ones that's kind of leading that charge, and that's a key cog in regards to that role the booster club plays. You know, you want that to be, you know, kind of it's a positive feedback one way or the other, but I do feel like, you know, that coach should be that one leading the charge in regards to what he feels like or she that is the specific needs for their program, and that booster club following that direction. But then it comes back to that coach in regards to them being effective and being able to communicate that message effectively to get the support from the booster club.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. All right, moving on from booster clubs, moving on to parents and dealing with parents. Just first off, do you have a main, or how do you handle communication with parents? Just kind
Well, I always have an open door, open phone line policy. That's, I feel like they are a vital instrument in regards to all of our programs. They have a voice, and so therefore they should be heard. And I think, the days of, hey, if you don't like it, that's tough. I don't think that works nowadays. I think you've got to be willing to listen and understand where they're coming from in regards to the concerns they have. Now, ideally, what we would like is if there is a concern, that they would take it up, with an assistant coach or a position coach that their kid plays for. And if not there, then we take it to the head coach. And then we kind of follow that chain of command. In regards to after the head coach, it would go to the site coordinator that we have at each site there at Norman North High School and Norman High School. And then at some point, if necessary, myself or the high school principal will become involved if there's not a resolution, which majority of the time, the key is the communication piece. If that communication is there and you're hearing the concerns they have and they're also doing the same thing, then the majority of the time your problems are going to be solved. Where you get off balance or off track is whenever that communication piece, as far as the listening part and hearing what they're saying, instead of trying to look at it as I'm wrong, you're right. Again, the key is hearing it, understanding where they're coming from, and believing that where there's a will, there's a way. Well, if there's a way to work that issue out from both sides, then we'll solve the problem. But as far as the chain of command, so to speak, we prefer it to be with an assistant coach or a position coach that their individual child is playing for. If not, head coach, the site coordinator, and then site principal and myself if need be.
Great. As far as individual sport coaches, do they have freedom to make policies for their individual programs?
Yes, they do. We allow them the freedom to do that, obviously with the understanding that once they have some things in place, whatever it is, they would send that to the site coordinator, and that site coordinator would look over that, and then it would be sent to me, and making sure that what they feel like is important to their program matches up with their site, and then also aligns with what the district vision is as well. I think it's really mindful, our coaches should be mindful of, you see a lot of different procedures and policies, and they all look good on paper. But at some point in time, you have to be realistic and understand, I'm kind of the believer, the more rules and policies you have, the more issues you have to deal with. Not that it should be a free-for-all, but there's got to be a fine line, and you've got to understand the culture and the environment that you're at, depending on the system or the school system or the district that you're in. And that's an important part as well, as far as kind of what is accepted, and coaches understanding that, I think sometimes we all get into problems whenever we start have that mindset of the programs are ours. No, they're not ours. They're the kids, they're the parents, they're communities. It's our job to come in and lead it effectively and get everybody on the same page, because we know there's going to be differences. But if we're able to communicate effectively and go in the same direction, that's what leads to a successful time during that program.
Awesome. That was great. Moving on. I think that covered everything we wanted for parents. Social media. Starting off, just what is your general policy for social media for coaches and for students?
Absolutely. So social media, we want to use that as a positive tool. We encourage our coaches to promote their program, their athletes on social media. Myself, I have a social media, a Twitter page that we try to promote all the good things that we have going on in our programs. Where we have to be a little bit understanding is, you want to monitor, you want to make sure that your kids are doing the right thing, but also understand that they have freedom and they have choices, and not only getting too caught up in regards to what they can or can't do, but allowing an opportunity to explore and understanding that there's things that can affect you immediately, if that's if it's something that regarding to the school learning environment that could be detrimental immediately, but also understanding that long-term wise, there could be a whole lot of damage that could occur. And so, we allow our coaches to kind of, to monitor that themselves for the most part, with the understanding of the vision of, where we want to come from the district level. But for the most part, using it as a tool that's a resource, because it's not going away. It's going to continue to get bigger and bigger. And so therefore, use that as an opportunity to show what we're trying to do as a district to promote the positive things that are going on within our athletic programs.
It sounds like you guys have a pretty good system at your school for that. have you ran into any issues, a specific case where you had an issue?
Yeah, there's always issues, and I think the key to that is educating and teaching the kids and having them learn from that. The educating part, I think, is the key component. Making sure they understand, what is appropriate, what is not, and what can happen if things get put out there that's not a very good situation. And so, we allow them freedom, but also understanding that there are some repercussions that come from that if things get off track or out of tilt, so to speak. But again, I think the key is a lot of kids just do not understand the long-term ramifications that can occur if you make a split-second decision and within 10 seconds of something that could really be detrimental to your future. And so, growing them in that area, it kind of comes along with what else goes on in athletic programs in regards to not only what they can do on the field for you, but and understanding as an adult to be that there are things out there that we've got to make sure that it's our responsibility to make sure they're aware of.
Great. The next question is going to be, how has your management style changed over the past 10 years?
Yeah.
Go look at one thing.
Okay. You want me to wait? Tony, you're figuring out what not to say.
I was going to say ditto, whatever.
Yeah.
So starting from when you just started out, how do you think you've changed?
So I just completed my 14th year at athletic administration. I think probably the biggest change that I've seen over those years from myself is understanding that it's not always about policies and procedures and trying to prove to people that you're right. It's more about developing effective relationships with the coaches, with the parents and the community and the upper administration to get them to trust in you and having the PR skills that's needed to go out and sell and promote the programs that you're leading. And so I think to summarize, it's more of that. When I first started, I believe I was more about the policies and procedures and making sure that we meet all these deadlines, things that you can check off a lot, but not being aware of maybe when to and when not to do that with coaches in regards to when their busy time is, how things are going. But if you have that effective relationship with them, I think your success rate is going to be a whole lot better simply because they trust you, and even though they may not agree with you, they still understand the direction that you want to go, and they'll follow that direction.
And very similar kind of topic. For a younger AD, this kind of goes back to some of the things that you were just talking about, but what are, say, 3 things that an AD needs to know by their 3rd year job?
Well, one, I would say is not everybody's going to like you. That would be one of the first things. 2, I would say make sure that you understand and value your family, because that is the most important thing. As far as if you're married, you have a spouse, as well as having kids. And then the 3rd thing is understanding that no matter the system that you have in place, there's always room to grow. And so I would say the professional growth would be the third phase of that.
Okay, great. Next one. Do you do anything to make sure that your coaches are educated? Do you make sure that they're taking credits and furthering their education, or do anything along those lines?
Yes. So, our OSA, the state organization that we're under, there's some policies and things they have to have in place yearly. We also, we go above and beyond that, and we require some other things as far as professional development for all coaches to have, that are done online. And then we also have, we have several, meetings during the year. We have a district meeting to begin the school year where we refresh everybody, any new policies the OSA has developed, anything that we feel like was a success last year, and then also areas that we look to try to grow in as a whole, an entire athletic program.
And do you think that that kind of system is going to be any different in the future? Or do you think coaching education is moving towards something different?
I do. I think it's changed a lot since I've started. You know, as far as the professional development that's required, there wasn't near as much as what there is now. I think it's a good thing because I do think that, you know, just because you took a class in college or you did something before you started your career doesn't mean 15 years from then that you'll be fresh and know everything there is to know. So I think, you know, I think it's a good movement to continue, and it helps with the credibility of the coaching field. But I also think too that we as athletic directors need to understand there's a fine line because, you know, these coaches are very, very, very busy. And so trying to balance that out, finding out if we need to do additional things, when we need to do it, and if we do, then how are we going to do it and implement what our vision is.
Great. And then moving into some more legal stuff. Over the course of your career, what legal situation has taught you the most as an athletic director?
Oh, I don't know if there's a situation that has taught me the most. You know, I think that's a lot of, you know, the professional relationships that I've developed from other athletic directors across the state and the camaraderie, you know, things such as the conference that we're having right now. Those things, you hear stories, you hear versions of things that's happened and occurred to them. When there is something that happens that's unfortunate, whether it be in our district or somewhere else, you reach out to that athletic director or the administration and see how they handle that in hopes of things that you can do to be more proactive, to have things in place that hopefully will not allow that same issue to occur at your site.
Yeah. Hiring. What strategies have you implemented over the years that have made the hiring process easier?
Well, we've done some things in regards to pay that has been very beneficial to our coaches. I feel like, you know, we're in the top 15 to 20 in Class 6A and 5A for pretty much all of our positions now. Didn't used to be like that, so I feel like that's a very good incentive. We've done some other things in regards to athletic facility field maintenance that has helped that process in regards to having some things out there as well. We allow our coaches the freedom to earn some extra money during the summertime when they have their own camps and whatnot, which is beneficial to them as well. And then the actual hiring process and the interview process itself, just having a process has been beneficial for me, and understanding that, you know, we have a plan in place. The people that are going to be involved in the interview process, they know what to expect. We have a guideline of questions that we want to go off of, and I think that sends the message to everybody, regardless of the position, whether it's the head football coach or the assistant 7th grade boys basketball coach, that every position is an important position, and it should be, because there's kids and parents that are going to be involved with that coach that we hire. So just placing an importance for all positions and not just running through the mill and checking it off the box whenever you get done.
Right. At the beginning, you mentioned kind of a more desirable job gets you more desirable candidates. Did you guys look at your coaching positions and say, hey, we need to make these more desirable?
Absolutely, yes. Yes.
Is there anything specific you can talk to there that you did to?
Well, like I said, so it kind of goes back to what I just mentioned. You know, the increased pay. We've done some things with our facilities now that I feel like that have really made them a better overall environment for the kids and the coaches. And then, you know, the other key ingredient is developing that relationship with those coaches and understanding not to get too mixed up with wins and losses. I think that if you do that, then it's going to be a roller coaster pretty much on a weekly or if not daily basis. But the main thing is understanding that, you know, we're here for the kids to develop them and produce a productive student athlete that's ready for the real world whenever they graduate. And if you keep those goals in place, you know, I do believe that that will balance out a lot of things, and it will, you know, kind of keep us off of that win-loss deal. Because you know, I've been there when I coached a while back, and I took the wins. I didn't enjoy the wins enough. Took the losses too personal, and trying to get those coaches to understand that's not how you determine if you're successful or not. It's these other things that's going to make that difference.
The way you just phrased that, were you a coach before you
I
were
was.
athletic director?
Yes.
Could you speak a little bit to how that has helped you with this position?
Well, ironically, I look back and I see a lot of things that I did, and I try to encourage our coaches now, don't do that. I look back now, and I felt like that at that point in time that whatever I did was the most important thing. And I wanted to make sure and try to really push the kiddos in that direction. You can't force it. You've got to try to throw things out there to hopefully they'll be able to understand it and they'll want to follow what you're wanting to do. But also understanding through the part I just mentioned earlier in regards to, not getting too carried away on the wins and losses and letting that determine if you're a successful coach or not. Because if you do, for the most part, it's going to be a struggle for a lot of coaches, And then I would also say that, these coaches, the young ones that are coming in, them having an understanding of the time commitment and what is needed to make sure they're able to balance that out with their own personal life as well.
All right. It looks like we covered all of these, but one thing I do just want to cover, that you said that personal life balance. How do you manage that?
Well, now that I'm older and more mature, I feel like I have a better grasp on what's really important. And to me, that's my wife and my 2 kids. You don't get a second chance to be a dad, and so that's something I've really put forward is that's where I'm going to make sure that I'm doing everything I can to make sure everything is really good. I love my job. I look forward to going to work. But whenever it's time to go home, I pretty much decide it's time to put the computer up, and the pen and the paper can wait till tomorrow morning. And I think that that helps me be a little more fresher, so to speak, on a daily basis. At least I think it does. And put things into perspective. I think sometimes we spend too much time on something that affects our decision-making skills to where we're not making the best decisions. Sometimes it's better to leave whatever issue is, leave it there at work, and then you pick it up the next day, and you have a little bit more of a clearer mind, so to speak, to make a more effective decision. But that balance is really, really key in understanding the importance of where that lays with your personal life and your family.
Awesome. That was it.
All right, man.